Welcome, everyone, to our Iconic Italy info session. We're going to take you through our self-guided itinerary today to explore some of the highlights of this fantastic country that's on the top of so many people's bucket lists. If you haven't been to Italy, this will be a great way to explore what we can offer in terms of planning or creating a trip to Italy for you. So we'll get started and dive in right away. Our host for today's event is myself, Laura Ham. I'm the co-owner of Traverse Journeys that will be presenting this event today. Rafa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Raffaella actually, but everybody call me Rafa just because it's easier and shorter. And I'm Italian. I'm from a region called Piedmont in English, and I do live in the Italian Alps, just across from the Swiss border. But I'm traveling quite a bit, of course, in Italy and not just Italy for work. And I'm always trying to promote my country, even though I know it's one of the most well-known countries in the world. But I also know that not everybody has already been here and have been visiting this amazing place on Earth. So
Yeah,
you're
thank
welcome
you.
to
Yeah, we're
travel.
super happy to have someone, an Italian native, to take us through and help plan and book and give all the tips and recommendations that we want to supply for Italy to you. A little bit about Traverse Journeys, just to introduce ourselves to you. Traverse Journeys has been operating for about 7 or 8 years now. We explore a couple dozen different countries and destinations around the world. We offer small group trips, self-guided itineraries, and a few self-booking guides as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about those options. Our motto at Traverse Journeys is People, Planet, Purpose. And what we mean by that is that when we create and plan each itinerary, we infuse these values into the planning. So what that looks like is, in terms of people, we look for culturally connected experiences, ways in which you can interact with local people and customs and traditions and learn about history and just really feel like you've engaged with the people of the country, not just the sites or crossing things off a list. And in terms of planet, obviously we're going to choose some of the most beautiful places on the planet to create itineraries and to bring you and show off the incredible scenery that this planet has to offer. And when we do that, we're always doing it with a mind towards sustainability, regenerative travel, and just creating positive impacts as we go. So we'll often, we'll provide sustainability tips. We'll look for activities and vendors that prioritize sustainability and partner with local organizations that are helping to preserve the nature and the beautiful sites on this planet. And in purpose, what we do is we look for ways to create meaningful and transformative travel. So kind of like I said, rather than just ticking things off a list, we're looking to create an experience and an itinerary that really takes you on a journey through the meaning and culture and value that different places in the world offer, and the education and information that you might not get otherwise through our guides and through, again, our partners. We partner with a local nonprofit organization in each country and donate a portion of trip sales to that partner and meet with them at some point during the itinerary to engage and learn about what they do and the impact that they have within their country or their region. So that's a little bit about Traverse Journeys. And then in terms of our agenda for today, we're going to go through just a kind of overview and snapshot of Italy and the culture and values that are so prevalent in Italy. We'll go through the traverse itinerary that we've curated after years of exploring and understanding the best highlights and most unique experiences throughout the country. So we're going to go through in our itinerary Cinque Terre, Florence, Tuscany, and Rome. We'll talk about transportation. We'll talk about our community partner, safety and travel tips, our self-booking guide, which is a unique offering that we've created in Italy. There'll be time for Q&A and also some fantastic discounts to learn about towards the end, so be sure to stick around. So this is Italy, as you can see. And Rafa, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the overview of Italy and the regions that we'll explore?
Yeah, so Italy is a small country, but very diverse in terms of weather, climate as well. So we're going to start, let's say in our itinerary, we're going to start from Milan, which is the region of Lombardia. We have, like in the United States, you have 50 different states. In Italy, you actually have 20 different regions. And we're going to start from the north, so from Lombardia, where Milan is. So you're going to be landing in Milan. Milan is one of the most important cities in Italy, and actually one of the biggest airport in the country. And then we're gonna move to Cinque Terre, which is on the sea, so on the Ligurian Sea, in a region called Liguria, of course. And then from there, we're gonna move to Tuscany, which is well known, and we're gonna explore Firenze and Chianti and Siena. And then we're going to end the trip in Lazio, in Rome, which is one of the most important cities, of course, because that's the capital city of the country. Yeah, and then you can see there's a few islands which are well known. The south, we have Sicily, and then we have Sardinia, which is maybe not so well known, which is also a really beautiful place. And so we're going from the Alps, which are separating the country from France and Switzerland and Austria, and we're moving south, and we're all surrounded by sea, so it's pretty easy to find yourself on a seaside place because we're surrounded by water. So
Yeah, lots of coast in Italy for sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you can see the size is the size of New Mexico, kind of, so really small. We use Euro as our neighbors. As I was saying, the two major airports are Rome and Milan. So most of the people that are traveling from overseas usually are landing in Milan, Malpensa, or Linate, or in Rome. But if you're traveling before in other European countries, you might end up flying somewhere else, even in smaller airports as well, or maybe use the train. Yeah, the time zone is plus 5:45,
That's
and yeah,
awesome.
and we are like only 60 million people, so
Yeah.
not many people around. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, yeah, the language is Italian. That's the only language that we speak. Even though there's a few regions where you can find people speaking French, like Valle d'Aosta, or speaking German, like in Trentino. And we also use a lot of dialects. So not like in the northern parts of Italy, not as much, but in the central and southern part, a lot of people are speaking dialects. So sometimes you might not understand people, even if you like speak Italian, just because they're speaking, their own little language, and they might use it, especially with foreigners, so you don't understand what they're talking about. And then we're like, since we have the church within the country, we're like mostly Catholic. There's a lot of churches all over. We grew up, most of the people are growing up Catholic, but then we're not as religious as we used in the past. And of course, because of the globalization and people moving around and moving also to Italy, we have a lot of other religions, and most of the time we respect that, so there's no big issue about being Buddhist or being Muslim, or like having being atheist as well. There's a lot of discussion around it, and it's something you can talk about more than politics, maybe. Yeah.
Excellent.
Which is always a hot topic. And yeah,
Story.
so yeah, no worries. Yeah, and then yeah, talking about cultures and values. So safe topics apart from religion and politics that you might maybe want to avoid, even just relax, is actually to embrace what we call la dolce vita. So take it slow when you come into Italy. Maybe don't want to visit everything about the country, even if it's a small country, and try to enjoy the food, the art, the history that we can offer. Is one of the most interesting places in terms of art and history, and ancient buildings and museums. And we're very good in at cooking, and also I invite you to explore not just pizza and pasta, because we have a lot of varieties and a lot of different dishes that are not so well known, but they're really, really good. And we cater to a lot of people also being vegetarians. Not like our cuisine is actually very much vegetarian. We eat meat, but the basics are all around beans, cereals, and veggies and fruits, of course. So it's also an healthy diet. It's not just about pasta and pizza and gluten all the time.
Yeah, that doesn't sound
Yeah,
very.
and we actually like it's the best way is to meet people and to have, I think, a local experience is to try to enjoy and talk to people over a glass of wine, an aperitivo, which is also something really typical that is going on right now. And if you're visiting Italy especially in spring and summertime when it's really hot, you might not be that hungry, then aperitivo is a good choice to hang in a bar and meeting locals and having a glass of wine or a spritz or local cocktail and just have some little food and finger food type of thing, which is also something really typical. And that's a good way to meet and chat with people and get to know the locals as well. So I invite you to do that and just mingle without stressing out. If you don't see everything, that's fine. I think the
Yeah.
most important part is also when you're traveling is to get to interact with locals, which also means maybe to hire a guide for half a day, a local guide that could help you to connect like in a deeper way to the country, to what you're living, where you're at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So in terms of the when you travel to Italy, of course, there's a million different options out there, many different itineraries and packages and trips that you can choose from. So why choose Traverse to travel through Italy? For one thing, we really scour, each destination looking for unique experiences and being able to, like Rafa said, connect with locals and understand the culture, as well as seeing the sights. So local connections, whether that's again with a guide or stopping for an olive oil tasting to learn all about olive oil in Italy, or, exploring Florence together with a local guide. And yeah, also choosing like, local and boutique accommodations where you have kind of a family feel and can really connect and ask questions with your hotel owner. We really focus on regional differences. So in each different region of Italy, there's, local specialties in terms of food and, highlights that we will, give you tips and advice and help you explore that aspect of it. Of course, the people and planet values that we infuse into each itinerary, which I touched on. And we'll talk about and help you explore the artisan craftsmanship in different regions as well, in terms of, those regional differences. And throughout it, you'll really come away with an understanding of history and culture, which yeah, is such a beautiful part of exploring Italy. We've been going and bringing travelers to Italy for many years, and we've had great feedback from our guests over the years regarding their itinerary and where we can take people and what the experience is, and the value of having everything, planned by experts, and not having to sort of guess your way through, what's good or where to book your accommodation or how to get around. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of positive feedback that we've gotten in terms of the services we provide in Italy. So for this particular itinerary, if you've joined some of our other meetup lives on Eventbrite, we often are talking about small group trips, which have set dates and include, up to maybe 12 or, anywhere from 6 to 12 people that you'd be traveling with. But for Italy, what we offer instead is a self-guided itinerary, or a custom group trip. So self-guided itinerary means that we provide all of the bookings and all of the planning, and the whole route and everything sort of, planned and provided for you with tips and recommendations and driving routes and all of that, and train tickets. And the custom group means that you can choose to book this itinerary with a group of folks, and optionally add a guide into that, as well as like transportation provided, if you have a group that would like to travel together. So you can pick your dates. Inclusions throughout our wine tasting, olive oil tasting in Tuscany, exploring the 5 villages of Cinque Terre, days that you'll be in Florence and Siena and Tuscany to, explore those regions, a full day in Rome. And, we look for boutique accommodations and, provide centrally located hotels. And we also have a farmhouse stay in Tuscany, which is a lovely option to really kind of immerse yourself in the countryside of that beautiful region. So those are some of the inclusions. And now we'll kind of go day by day through the itinerary and yeah, go over the highlights and things that you can expect throughout. Oh, so also here's more inclusions in terms of your accommodation, your trains. There's a car rental included for you. Yes, like I said, driving routes, public transit tips. You'll get entry to several sites along the way, daily breakfast, plus an included dinner and an included lunch, and visiting with our community partner to learn about slow food. And yeah, now we'll go through the itinerary day by day. So day 1, do you want to take it away, Rafa?
Yeah, so we're starting from Milan, but of course we're offering this self-guided trip. It could be also the other way around, but I like the way that is going. We're going from north to south. So you're landing in Milan, and there's 2 main airports. So either Linate or Malpensa. They're very connected, very well connected to the city center. So even if you don't wanna have a private transportation, you can use the public ones that are working pretty well, and they bring you right within the city center. And then within the city center, Milan is a big city. Is the second main city after Rome. Is actually the most important, like from an economical standpoint, is the most important city in Italy. So it's a big city, and to get around Milan, either you walk or you need to use public transportations, that's the best way. So if you never use public transportation, that's a good start. Is not very complicated. People are super happy to help you out. They have a lot of resources online as well. But that's the best way, and it's a good way of landing in a very well taken care of city, and everything is working pretty fine. And it's a good way to start like your adventure in Italy. Of course, in the picture that we posted here, we have the Duomo of Milan, which is the most iconic sites in Milan. But there's a lot of different things that you could do, and is also a foodie place. So if you're really into food, that's a good way of kicking out your trip in Italy, because there's delicious restaurants, and they're offering like local food. And well, Milan has typical food as well. So for example, the risotto alla milanese, which is a rice with saffron and with a local meat as well. So there's a lot of like really interesting thing that you could discover about Milan, that they're giving something different to your Italian experience. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's the first
absolutely.
day. And you can have also an aperitivo that I was talking about before, the aperitivo. So that's something that you need to have when you're coming to Italy every
Yeah,
day.
an aperitivo, for those who don't know, is basically like a happy hour tradition. It's like a cocktail that you would have around, the finish of your workday, 4 to 6 p.m. with some light snacks and appetizers that are provided
Yeah.
usually, included like with a drink order. And it's just a nice time to like sit down and people watch and, take in the sights. Definitely. So from Milan, we go to Cinque Terre.
Yeah, from Milan. So the best way to go from Milan to Cinque Terre, we're always saying, is the train, because Cinque Terre are small villages like on the sea, on the Ligurian Sea, and with really difficult access with by car, and parking is very limited, super expensive. You don't really need the car, like if you're going to Cinque Terre. So we're taking a train ride from Milan to Liguria, and it's really easy to take. The Cinque Terre, of course, we're talking about 5 different villages, one next to each other. They're connected by train. You can also walk or hike, more than walk, from one spot to another. They're like really typical fishermen villages, really colorful, small, with a lot of good food, of course, seafood and fish, and the typical dish that is focaccia. But Cinque Terre is also a national park, so it's really good for trekking and hiking lovers, I would say. But if you're not into that, then you can visit like all Cinque Terre by train or by boat, and it's really easy to get from one point to another. The 5 villages are like pretty similar, I would say, to one another. But if you have time, I really recommend to visit them all, because they're really really interesting. And if it's the good time, a good season, then you can also don't forget your swimming suit, because of course you're like gonna be next to the water, the Mediterranean Sea, and then you can always take a dip and just refresh yourself before like maybe jumping onto a boat, or like go and visit a different like village. Usually we base all our trip on Monterosso, just because it's the biggest town, the biggest of the 5 villages, and there's like more options to it. Is also very convenient, the train from Milan to Monterosso, and then from there, like being based there, then you can have a couple of days where you can explore the Cinque Terre. And 2 days are like is a good start, like to getting to know the Cinque Terre and enjoying also the villages. They're like pretty busy, but if you're staying overnight in Cinque Terre, then that's the best time. Early morning and late afternoon / nights and evenings are the best time to be in Cinque Terre, because you're gonna have the village just by yourself and the few people that can stay there. So it's really a neat experience. And then for those who are like into trekking, there's a variety of hikes and trails that you can use, and we're more than happy to recommend you the best one for your shape and your interest as well. What you can also do in Cinque Terre is to taste the wine and the olive oil and the olives as well. They're really famous for their focaccia, which is a sort of bread with a lot of oil on top and salt, really delicious. They're getting super popular, so I would come here maybe in spring and in autumn and avoid definitely the summertime. Yeah.
Mhm.
If you want to
Excellent.
enjoy, yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, and
Sorry,
here's just a
talking
few
too
more
much.
pictures to give you an
Yeah.
idea of Cinque Terre. You can see like each village does have some unique qualities. There's one that's like hilltop, like Cornelia, and then they have like different kind of beaches, maybe a pebble beach or a sand beach, and different layouts. But yeah, and you can see the coastal walking path between the villages here as well. So it's incredibly scenic hiking. So yeah, 2 days to explore is definitely a good amount to get a great taste for Cinque Terre. So from Cinque Terre, then we move on to Florence.
Yeah, I'm so also going to Florence again. We would recommend the train. It's not usually a direct train, but is super easy, and you'll avoid traffic, and you can read, you can enjoy the scenery from the train. So if you can use public transportation, and especially trains in Italy, that will save you a lot of headaches and sitting in traffic and trying to figure out the roads, and especially between big cities. So going to Florence is really easy again. And Florence, of course, everybody knows Florence. Florence is the main city of Tuscany. So that's the most important one, but it is also the capital city of the region Tuscany, Toscana in Italian. It's one, I think, of the most important cities in the world. Is listed in the UNESCO World Heritage List, and there's a lot to see. I mean, a couple of days or a week in Florence are not enough, of course, especially for those who are into arts and into visiting galleries and academias and museums. But it's pretty easy to walk around Florence, and just being amazed by the palazzi, the buildings, the Renaissance buildings and the ancient buildings, or just sitting and sipping some really nice wine and in the main square. So again, the best way to visit Florence is walking and not taking any sort of taxi or transportation unless you're really going out of the city center, and take at least a couple of days if you've never been there. Of course, one of the major sites is the Duomo, the area around the Duomo. You can also climb to the Brunelleschi, and you can see a lot of different things. So depending on, you can also visit the Accademia and the Uffizi and get to know about Michelangelo, about Raffaello, about Giotto, about the Renaissance period in Florence. So there's a lot of history and a lot of art. If you're really into that and you don't know a lot about it, then I really recommend to take at least a couple of hours, half a day of tour with a local guy specialized in that, because you will get more of the experience and the knowledge, and you will understand better what Florence was and what it is nowadays. So because it's almost overwhelming, like going to Venice, there's so much to know about it that sometimes it's nice to have someone trying to give you the keys to read what you're looking at. So yeah, and the clues. Yeah. And then if you're in Florence and maybe you've been to Florence before, you can also do some side trips. Lucca is also a very nice city, not too far from Florence. You can take the train there. It's a mini tiny city compared to most of the of course, cities around the world, and is also another experience that you can add on your Tuscany trip, together with Florence and Siena. Is something that is giving you a different perspective, and something on top of what you're seeing in Florence and you're gonna see in Siena. So if you've been to Florence before and you want to see something else, then there's a lot of different little town and villages and cities that you can go to just driving, taking your train from Florence. And you could also spend more than 2 days if you want. So
Yeah, absolutely. Since this is a self-guided itinerary, you can tweak certain things if you want to spend an extra night in Cinque Terre or in Florence. We can customize some of that for you easily enough. So yeah, as Rafa said, there's many things to see in Florence. I think it's often referred to as a museum without walls. Like the whole city
yeah.
is basically a museum. And the central market is incredible too. There's so much, there's obviously lots of art and architecture in Florida. There's also incredible food, incredible shopping in and around the central market. So yeah, it's easy to fill a couple days in Florence, definitely, for any interests. And then from Florence, this is where we'll start. Instead of taking the train, we provide a rental car for you from Florence to Rome, because that stretch of Italy is more difficult to access by train. And having a car in that is not so overwhelming. It's more rural and countryside, so it's easier to drive and allows you the freedom to kind of stop along the way at vineyards or viewpoints or little villages. Yeah, you want to talk a little bit more about Tuscany?
Yeah, yeah, it's actually a really nice drive. So here, that's what, as Laura was saying, the car is key, and especially if you're like into pictures and you want to see all the little villages, then you can stop anywhere you want. Like you can take the perfect shot, and you don't need to, like just struggle in a bus trying to figure out where to go. So it's a really nice drive and not too complicated. You're not going to encounter usually a lot of traffic. So it's really nice. You can also stop in different places to taste wine, to taste olive oil. This is the Chianti area. So Chianti is one of the most famous region area within Tuscany for wine. They're not just producing wine, they're also like a lot of olive oil producers. So that's a good, actually a good region, a good area of the Tuscan region to relax and to just soak what you're looking at, and stopping at the different farmhouses or olive oil producer. And we have really good partners for wine and for olive oil. So we're really happy to share like our contacts with you and plan visits to those places, because also you get to experience family run business most of the times, and in brands that you might not encounter like anywhere else in the world. So that's really, yeah, again, we usually put like a day, but some people, they want to stay longer just to relax a little bit more. And the accommodation we're providing are really nice, and you're gonna feel like you're in a tale, or like somewhere else, very different from like most of the places I've been in the world. I think I really love Tuscany. So I know it's really popular place, but definitely there's a reason to it. So
And our olive oil visit is actually part of our community partnership. So the
yeah.
um, the folks that you'll meet are represented from an organization in Italy that preserves local traditions in terms of like quality and the customs of creating olive oil, because it's really one of the most famous exports from Italy around the world is the olive oil. And like most things in Italy, there's a lot of value placed on preserving the old traditions and how these products are made. So you learn about that. And yeah, the farmhouse hotel is gorgeous. It's kind of a must do thing in Italy is to stay at, they call them agroturismo hotels, and they're just a beautiful kind of off the beaten path experience. and you'll have
Yeah.
dinner there as well, prepared for
Yeah.
you from the people at the farmhouse hotel. So you'll stay that night, and then the next day, go to Siena, just a short drive away.
Yeah, yeah, Siena's not too far away. It's also a really nice city. Don't think it's like going to Florence because it's not. It's definitely smaller, but it's one of the most ancient cities of Italy, together with, of course, Rome and Florence and Venice. Is maybe like about 30 miles from Siena to Florence, so not too far. It's famous for the palio. Palio is going on in summertime. Is like a sort of a historical horse race, difficult to explain, but interesting to live. Just very crowded on those days. But if you don't like the crowds, then try to avoid like the days of the palio because it's also impossible to find accommodation and places to have some quiet time. But it's definitely a day is plenty to visit Siena. There's a really, really, really nice dome that you would see, the main square where the Palio usually is held, and yeah, good, very, very good food as well in Siena. There's again here we're not using big brand for accommodation and for hotel. We're using like small family run business. We try to give you like again a really local experience, and Siena is, yeah, it's definitely like a must stop before heading to crowded Rome. So
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, Siena's nice and quiet and peaceful and just beautiful. I love
yeah,
just wandering around Siena, like, and
yeah,
the different little streets and shops are really nice to explore. Similar to Lucca, I guess, but Lucca's even quieter,
yeah,
I would. Those are
yeah, true.
spots. And you do
And
have the option.
sometimes you probably,
Oh, go on.
no, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that we provide the option to either stay in Siena this night if you want to, stay through the night and dinner and nightlife, or, whatever, relax in Siena through the evening. Or since it's a short drive, you can also just go back to your farmhouse hotel. So you have 2 nights at the farmhouse hotel and don't have to unpack and repack as many times. So you can kind of
Yeah,
choose which you prefer there.
yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Oh,
Sorry.
good. No worries. And then from Siena, it's off to Rome.
Yeah. So in Rome, you definitely want to like just give back your car in Rome, and again use public transportations or taxis or walk around. Rome, of course, that's the eternal city. It's the capital city of Italy, and there's a lot to see between all the sites in Rome and the Vatican City as well. It depends how many times, if you've been to Rome or not before. If you've been to Rome, then you might want to see, also go to Orvieto, for example, for the day, just to see something different, or just spend like even a few nights in Rome, because again, it's like Florence, you can stay for a long time and not see everything, and really good food, and you will see the difference by doing all this travel from the north, from Milan to Florence. All the different, also typical, the people, they will interact in a different way with you. So if you like notice, they try to talk to the locals, you will see different ways of interacting with people. And of course in the north, we're more like not shy but respectful of the privacy, while if you like start going southern, that people might bump into you or be more like like that, moving with their hands, but not just that, but being like more open to interact to others and to foreigners, trying to talk to you, and even if you don't want to talk to them. So it's a really good way of knowing the different like features and cultural like how you'd say cultural features of our country. Yeah.
Differences.
And again,
Yeah.
in hotel, it's good to have a locally central located hotel, so you don't need to use a lot of public transportations, because sometimes, I mean, they're working, but they're not maybe as efficient as in other cities. And so you want to be centrally located to be able to enjoy the Trevi fountains, go to the Coliseum, and see, you know, like the Spanish Steps, and just walk from one, go to the Pantheon and walk from one side to another. Yeah, easily.
Excellent.
Also at nighttime, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. Rome is quite the place to explore. So you'll have another full day in Rome, the next day to really dive into all the different sites, and you can kind of choose to explore on your own, or again, have a local guide with you, which is really a recommended way to really understand, you know, the depths of, you know, history and culture and the sites and the different features in Rome. Do you want to speak a little bit about the different options and sites in Rome?
Oh yeah, well, there's a lot to do. So you can do like even the Vespa tour. I mean, I'm a hiker, and so I like walking everywhere. So that's, I think, the best way, because also you bump and you like find yourself somewhere that you didn't expect to, and you're like just amazed by what you're looking at. So definitely getting lost sometimes is a good way of exploring cities, but having a clue is a good way too. So walking tour could be really nice, especially, you know, the very core of Rome, like the Roman Rome. So the ancient Rome is also like something that people want to see. Others are more interested maybe in the religious part, so they want to go to the Vatican City and learn all about it, which is super, super, super interesting. Definitely, you cannot pack everything in one day. So you kind of either you need to choose what's your priority, or you have to spend. Well, unluckily, no, I'm kidding, but you have to spend more days, because it's a big city and there's a lot of history and a lot to learn. Also in terms of food, so something maybe you want to also do when in Rome, apart from art and architectures and history, is also to learn about how to cook something, and just to bring it back with you and cook for your friends and family when back home, together maybe with olive oil and the wine that you bought like along the way, if you like those type of things. So it could be also something really neat, for to experience Italy, is to learn like how to cook something, even just a really nice easy dish of pasta, or something more complicated, something that you can replicate back home, but is also giving you, again, a good local experience of Italy, I think.
Yeah.
And
And we
we'll
can
also be
arrange,
able to, yeah,
sorry.
we can arrange that for you, and
Yeah,
according to what you look for.
all the
Yeah.
optional activities, whether it's having a guide for the day or doing a food tour or cooking class, or if you want to explore the Vatican or different tickets and entry tickets to different places, that's all part of what we can, you know, provide and plan for you in this itinerary. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
Um, excellent. And then yeah, after exploring Rome, it's time to depart Italy, which would be on day 10, if you don't add any extra days throughout the itinerary. But again, this could be a 2-week trip or, you know, whatnot, depending as you like. And yeah, that's from Rome. You can either fly back to Milan if you wanted to buy like a round trip ticket from Milan, from wherever your origin is. You can buy round trip international ticket to Milan and then just fly back to Milan at the end of the itinerary, or you can you know, arrive to Milan and depart from Rome when you book your flights. So that's the itinerary in a nutshell. Throughout the itinerary, we're choosing excellent accommodations that are mid-range in terms of price and quality. It's not like the highest end luxury hotels, but always very clean and comfortable, and, you know, usually quite unique, very central, like I mentioned, except for, of course, the farmhouse hotel, which is in the middle of the countryside. And breakfast is supplied at your accommodations every morning, so you have a nice, easy start to your day. Um, and yeah, if there's any questions you have about the accommodations, we're happy to answer that. Um, the food in Italy, which we've touched on a little bit, but just to devote a little bit more time to this like cornerstone of Italian culture. We've talked about the regional specialties that you'll find in each place, and we'll provide information about that. Like the pesto is, the Cinque Terre is actually the birthplace of pesto. So lots of yummy fresh pesto in Cinque Terre. And tips for shopping the local markets and what to buy, the different items that are famous in each region, as of course the wine as well. We talked about the aperitivo and gelato along the coast and other areas is definitely a must-have experience. And yeah, as Rafa mentioned, contrary, some people don't realize this, but it isn't very difficult, or it's definitely possible to accommodate vegetarian, vegan, dairy-free, and even gluten-free in Italy. In fact, we have a whole blog about gluten-free options in Italy. So there's a way to enjoy Italian cuisine for everyone. Did you want to add anything, Rafa?
No, I think that's actually, I'm vegetarian myself, so and I can eat anywhere, and I think it's super easy to find vegetarian food and vegan as well, and we're like used as everywhere I think right now to cater to pay attention to all the different intolerances and allergies, and so it's just a matter to ask and to know how to ask and where to go, and you're gonna have a great experience. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned back at the start, in addition to a fully booked trip or itinerary for you, we also offer a self-booking guide. So this is basically a PDF that's over 30 pages. And in this guide, we go through all the details for you. If you'd like to manage and plan and sort of create your own trip to Italy, instead of having us doing all the planning and booking for you. So we'll talk about specific hotel recommendations, sites, walking routes, different foods, and also cultural tips, a packing list, really detailed transportation information, and dining suggestions. So yeah, and it follows the same route that we just went over. So it's kind of another option if you're someone who doesn't mind or prefers to do all the planning yourself. Of course, with the whole self-guided itinerary, we take all of that off your plate, and just provide you with the whole experience from beginning to end, that you just need to execute once you're there. So it's two different options, depending on what your preference might be, and we have discounts for both of these options available. In terms of general travel tips for Italy, we talked a little bit about the seasons. It's really, it's a 4-season country, and there's a lot of variety from north to south in terms of weather. But the best times that we find to explore Italy are in the spring and the autumn, because you get a really nice mix of good weather and also not so crowded. Italy, being so popular, of course, can be quite crowded in the summertime, the busiest travel months. So we do recommend to kind of shoot for like April and May or September and October, rather than like July and August, for example. Anything else to add on the weather or seasons?
No, I think I mean, every region has its own, maybe the time to go. Like if you're coming, of course, where I do live, we have snow right now. So it depends where you're going, what experience you want to get from the country. So I really like going off season, and I'm usually traveling in March, April, even in February. It could be a really good time to go because there are not many people around. And if you're going like from central to south is still a good time to go, and it's not usually not that cold. And also in autumn could be a really good time, especially even at the seaside, because the water is still cold, warm, so you can still like swim and having a good time and sunbathing if you want. But it's not that crowded anymore, because of course we also, as Italians, we do travel in our country. So if you're coming in June, July, August, it's packed. Not just with foreigners but also with local tourists. So yeah.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and in terms of clothing, definitely important to have really comfortable walking shoes, not just for
Yeah.
hiking, but also for walking around the cities. You're going to be, on your feet and walking a lot through Italy because it is the best way to really explore the towns and so yeah, and the streets are often like cobblestone or uneven. So, it's good to have, probably want to leave the high heels at home.
Yeah.
And also Italy, it's a culture where people dress, quite well and dress smart. So if you want to kind of blend in and not stick out as an obvious tourist, it might be good to keep that in mind and, maybe leave the yoga pants at home and opt for, something a little more put together, but also still very comfortable, of course. Safety wise, obviously with your, valuables, it's good to leave them in the hotel in a safe, your passport and things like that, not bringing all your cash with you, and whatever cash or cards you do have on you, just keeping them secure, not just in your back pocket or somewhere that's easy to, have someone grab. I mean, it doesn't always happen, of course, but it's just good to be mindful of that. In terms of cultural etiquette, one of the things we really like to recommend is for, people to learn some Italian and practice some Italian phrases. It's really appreciated by the locals when you can, at least attempt to speak some Italian. And there's other cultural tips that we include in the self-booking guide that really talk about some different advice to blend in again and not stick out as a tourist. We've got a full packing list in our self-booking guide, which includes clothing and, toiletries, things to, boost your immune system, natural remedies, and of course, like electronics and things that would be helpful, like having a electronic like battery pack for your phone so that you're, not running out of charge by the end of the day when you're taking all those photos and videos and stuff like that. And in terms of route planning, one thing that we see sometimes is that other trips or people travel to Italy and really try and cover like the whole country in one trip. And we really recommend to just focus on a few regions, especially with like only 10 days or 2 weeks. And spend a couple nights in each destination, not only to soak up and immerse that place, but also not to feel so hectic and rushed where you're traveling and moving every single night. So on our itinerary, you see that you spend 2 nights in Cinque Terre, 2 nights in Florence, 2 nights in Tuscany, and 2 nights in Rome, to give you, enough time. I mean, as we said, there's always more time you could spend in each destination, but at least, yeah, not hopping from place to place every single night is beneficial to really enjoy the experience. So yeah, we have the ability to plan an Italy trip for you any time of the year. There's a minimum of 2 people for the self-guided trip, for the fully booked itinerary. And it includes the rental car, self-drive, driving directions and tips, and then of course your train ticket and all that. And then we also, of course, provide the guide where you can plan your own trip any time of the year. So lots of options to customize and create the experience that you want with this itinerary. So the discounts, of course, thanks for hanging around. We've got our self-guided tour available for $100 off per person. So just use the code Italy Live when booking that. And these expire on the 22nd, so next Friday. And our self-booking guide, which is priced very reasonably already, is $50 off. So you'll enjoy a great discount on that as well. You can find both of these on our website. So under the travel guides or under our trips is where you'll find these two options. And just to wrap up a couple more things, if you're enjoying these live events where we talk about different countries and itineraries and highlights and tips, we have a couple more coming up. Next week, we're going to explore Costa Rica on March 20th. And then on March 25th, we'll be going to Croatia and talking about all the highlights in those destinations. You can find these events on Eventbrite or in your local meetup travel, international travel chapter. And also they're linked on the Traverse Journeys trip page, so you can register and sign up there as well. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If there's any questions that anyone has right now, feel free to pipe up. But we're always available to answer questions through email or our Instagram and social media channels, Facebook, Pinterest. Reach out anytime and we'll be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, hopefully we can create an amazing trip for you in Italy this year, or whenever you would like to go. We'll be happy to bring you to this amazing country and make sure you have an incredible experience as you explore. Do you have anything else to add, Rafa? Thank you so much for
No,
joining.
thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we
Thanks,
really
and we'll wait for you all. Like, you're welcome to visit us anytime.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. And we'll see you at another live event or perhaps as we plan your trip to Italy for you. Have a great day and more to come.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.